Alright, it's another day of working on Colin's C10. I unintentionally wore my matching shirt today, but you know, it's fitting. Alright, so the last thing we were doing was modifying the back end of this frame. So we've got the axle side mounts and we've got the frame side mounts. Now we need to build the links that connect the two, and then we can continue building the frame around the axle. So let's quickly get that done so we can cycle the suspension and see what needs to come next. So measuring from there to here, that gives us 29 1/8. All right, so the joints I'm using for the rear links aren't necessarily compatible with each other. And what I mean by that is one is this size of bung, which goes in a 2-inch pipe like that. And the other one is this size, which goes into a small pipe like that. So we need to adapt from this size to that size. Clearly doesn't fit. So to kind of neck that bigger pipe down to the smaller one, I cut out these little 1/8-inch strips here. I cut 3 of them out, and we'll just put them kind of in a triangle shape to hold it centered in the pipe. That way when we weld it up, it's not all wonky and wants to warp all weird. So I'll get these tacked on to the small pipe and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Well, that's exactly what I was talking about. So they're welded on the inside, and these are 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna pound the rest of this in to sleeve it 1.5 inches in. I think that'll give it, I think that'll make it more rigid and stuff, as if we were stuffing the pipe properly. And when we weld it up, you won't even know. And it kind of looks cool the way it necks down. Perfect. Now all we have to do is throw that bung in there, and we can weld them up. With a little bit of patience, you get the links welded up without ruining the threads. And I got 2 of them on already. Take a look at this. Oh yeah. Perfectly parallel at the moment. That was completely unintentional. But I don't really think it's a bad thing. I think Colin's gonna be super happy with that. Anyway, next order of business is getting this slammed, because that's what we're after on this project. But there's one thing holding us back. Time and money. No, I'm just kidding. It's not either of those things now. It's the drive shaft holding the cab up. Right there. So if we try to go any lower, because this has a long ways to go, we got to cut up into that. Man, it's hard work going low. I'd rather lift it, to be honest. But, you know, this thing's pretty cool.
You know those videos where the trucks is totally the wrong kind of vehicle, but where the suspension goes like boom, 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 you know?
Hydraulics, yeah.
Yeah, is this gonna do that?
No.
It's not even cool. I'm sorry, it's not even cool.
It's not an airplane either, so if you expect it to fly, it's not going to do that.
No, I don't know. This is a cool truck. It's Colin's dream, I get that, but like, I don't know, I like high things, you know? I like lifted things. This will be really cool though. I'm really excited for how this is gonna turn out.
All right, well, let's get this cut out. That looks horrible. I'm so sorry. We'll clean it up and make it actually look good, but it just pains my soul to cut into a cab of this era, or any era for that matter. You just have to have enough confidence that you can make it better than it was before. So it doesn't mean it has to be good, it just has to mean like whether you get satisfaction out of it. It doesn't matter what other people think. But if later, when this project's completely done, and we wish that we did nothing with it at all, that's when we messed up. the way up in there. It'll definitely clear now.
That got you closer.
It's pretty low how it sits. That's exciting. Okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. Today we're back in the shop. We got Zach with us today and Higgins. Hi. So today we're going to get the airbags installed.
We are?
We're not?
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
saying that for the last like 4 days, but we're gonna get close to it today. So here's what we got going down. I redid the axle mounts because I didn't like them. They are now cool looking and they've got speed holes in them. We put in a more permanent cross member. Zach is also putting gussets on right there just to strengthen that whole joint up because it's a weak point now.
And they're cool looking.
They
That's
are
the
cool
important
looking.
part. Even though you won't be able to see them.
Now we need to kind of finish the frame top part a little bit more so that we know how to mount the airbags and whatnot. So we've got this cool little logo over here that will kind of be the top plate for the frame. Hopefully Chevy doesn't sue me. I don't know what their trademark stuff is, but boom. So yeah, just a couple more measurements to make sure it clears everything, and then we can get it cut out and installed. All right, that's what we're going for. I've got a sheet of 3/16 right here. Cross our fingers. Oh, that is it right there, man. All right, still needs to be cleaned up more, but it's actually looking really good. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, what about the rear airbags? How's this thing gonna move up and down? Have you forgotten about it? No, I have not. Right, Zach? We got a plan. I've been thinking about how this rear end's gonna be set up. In fact, I've had 2 years to come up with a way. All the ways I was thinking about, I threw out the window, and we're doing something completely different now. We're gonna add another arm. So we have our parallel 4-link set up, and that keeps our axle perfectly in line. Keeps the pinion from rotating. So I'm gonna be adding another arm to mount the airbag to. And it seems excessive because that would mean this is 6 arms, and then with the Watts link, 8. So it'd be an octopus. Yeah, we just need to get started on that. And I think to start, I'm gonna mount the airbags. Here's what we're working with for airbags. These bad boys are bigger than the front, but they'll go right in here somewhere. Does that look about right?
Yeah.
Let's get them mounted. Zach had to go, but he got the Chevrolet all cleaned up. And if you've ever cleaned the slag from a plasma cutter, you know how much work it is. Really happy he did that, not me. That's it, upside down at the moment. Chevrolet. This is the bag mount idea that I have. So I think I'm gonna mount this bag to the frame right there. And there's gonna have to be another arm that picks up the frame. So I have this piece here that I think I'm gonna mount and have an arm come all the way down and connect to the axle with a shackle. So with that kind of setup, I'll be able to get more lift out of the bags, which I'm hoping to get because ride height is about 9 inches and the bag's travel is also only 9 inches. So that leaves no room for down travel at full height. Also to avoid excessive pressure. Let me get this a little further along and then I'll show you what we come up with because it's really hard to explain it. Wow, this is taking way longer than I thought it would, but we're making progress. Making very good progress. So, we built this arm right here, okay? And this arm picks up from right there. That's kind of a solid joint. We might change that up a little later. Then it goes down to the bag, and the bag is what actually like picks up the truck. And then the end of the arm is gonna go and it's gonna sling down below the axle. I'm actually about to throw a couple more bigger tacks on that. Kind of test it without any real weight on it. Just cycle it without breaking anything, hopefully, and just seeing what it does. Now we're talking. Say that's full ride height right there. Go down now and see completely aired out. I aired up the front again. We should have 9 inches of clearance. Aired up the back with the jack here holding everything up. And it's about 9 inches. That should be about ride height for this truck. I think 9.5 inches of ground clearance is perfectly reasonable for a truck like this, because it's not for off-road. This is what it looks like with the bag all the way aired up. Obviously could lift a little more than that even. I think I'm gonna call it a day though, because I really like how that's going. Absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, until then, we'll see you tomorrow. Back to the project. Last night I got the one arm done, or mocked up, and it's taken a long time to get the other arm done. So now we've got 2 pairs, 1 for each side. There's the spindle for one, there's the spindle for the other. Bag locations, right there and there. Now we just need to put it together, tack some axle mounts on, and we'll be good to go. So, and then I'll go over the geometry of things and how it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Where's the washer? You have it?
Yep.
Oh. Alright. So Zach welded up these cute little arms. These heims go into them for our little shackle link mount. The arms are now in. We got some stronger gussets with the bags also in. Now we need to get the air lines pulled off the front and put them on the rear so we can actually test the air function of it. And now we can get rid of the jack. We don't need it anymore. Installed and good to go.
Wow. Would you look at that? You can go taller than ride height. Easy as cake.
Come down. Kind of takes a while. Boy, that's taking the rest of my life. Well, actually, they don't take forever to fill up. It's just a long time to tear down. That's so cool. Looks pretty good. It's been kind of over the weekend and nobody's been here except me, so I've just been welding up some parts and pieces, like welding the rear frame portion up, welding these arms up and everything. And while I was doing that, the wheels actually came, and I noticed right away that they are the wrong lug pattern. They had the lug pattern listed wrong on the website, so I can't really, you know, blame anyone really. It's an honest mistake. Whew. Nice. So we're running a 6 on 5.5, and these are a 6 lug on 5. So now I need to decide if I'm going to send them back or if we're going to try to do some stuff and re-drill these hubs to fit. The only reason I'd consider that is because I'm having a really difficult time finding the wheels with the right offset, so we don't have to narrow this rear axle, because that's going to be a ton of work and I'd rather just avoid doing that. So far I went ahead and drew the re-drilling pattern. I cut it out already, and then I've got it setting over here right there. So those holes are what it is currently, and these other holes are what I need it to be. So if I rotate this, you can see the difference. It's pretty big. To re-drill the front hubs is not going to be super difficult, but the rear flanges could be a little bit more work. So since I want to see if these wheels are even the right back spacing anyway, I think I will re-drill the front hubs just to see how they fit and how they clear. This will go right onto here. All right, so we just need to get these holes a little bigger, and then we can pop those studs into it, and we'll call it a day. For testing purposes, we only have 2 put in. Get it all bolted up, get the wheel on, and see how it looks. Be 2 legs holding it on, so that looks pretty good. Yeah, so the edge of the tire actually sits like right there, full stuff, and that's our edge, reveal edge right there. So that should be more than enough. That looks really nice. I think I'm going to go ahead and convert the rest of the wheels. So yeah, I guess next on to pulling the rear axle shaft out to see what we can do with that. I decided I'm not going to pull the axle shaft right now. Instead, I'm going to get this rear frame put back up where it actually needs to go. I just got a little distracted with that wheel and wanted to see if it worked, and it does. So moving on. Today we're going to be putting the Watts link together. If you don't know what that is, it locates the axle left and right. It's kind of like a track bar, but it works using different geometry. In the end, it looks super cool and works really well. First, we got to get these mounted up, and then we can start building the Watts link. With the 2 frame rails in place, I want to add another like crossmember bar, kind of to match that one, but I think I'm going to put it down here by these gussets, and that will also hold our fuel tank, which is right here. We just went with a 20-gallon tank. I think that'll be plenty for this truck, and it'll probably get better fuel mileage than it did before we did all this work. Yeah. Alright, so depending on how you do your link setup, you need a way to center your axle. You can do that with the links, or you can do it with like a track bar or a Watts link. We're going with a Watts link. Let me explain what that is. Essentially, you have a bar mounted to the axle right there, and it pivots. Okay? It can pivot off the center of the axle. And then it is connected to the frame using 2 more arms that go to the frame It can pivot there and to the frame, and it can pivot there. You're gonna have to build a bracket down to catch that though. So if you push the axle that way, that center pin is gonna wanna rotate, and it can't rotate because it's pushing against the other frame. But what it can do is it'll let the axle move up and down. As the axle travels up and down, the distance from this point to this point has to change, and it does that by pivoting on the center point. Without the center point, it doesn't work. Now when setting one of these up, it's super important that this link and this link are the same length, because if they're not, your axle is gonna bind and it's not gonna travel properly, and it's gonna be bad, really, really bad. So now that we have a basic idea of what we're building, let's go build it. All right, so obviously we need enough joints for this to work, and we also need a pivot, just like I did over here. If you look at it right here, looks kind of like my drawing. Kinda. So we need somewhere to mount our center pivot, which will go somewhere there. Obviously that needs to be cut down. I'm gonna come off the axle tubes right over here, come across and right over there, and then we'll attach that in the middle. I'm gonna go play around on the computer, see what we can get cut out that will work. Well, this is what it looks like all cut out. I actually have two of them because I'll be stacking them. So here's the one that is cleaned up. I mostly put the holes in just for looks. Another thing that I touched on earlier, but you want to make sure that that pivot is dead center of the axle and dead center between the frame. And in this case, the pumpkin center section is perfectly centered from that flange to the edge, from that flange to the edge. We're gonna have to halt progress for this evening because I have a birthday to go to or something like that. Something about it being my birthday, but I don't know. I guess I have to go to it. Till tomorrow. We'll see you then. Good morning. It is a beautiful day, and I am so excited to get working on this truck today because we're gonna get the Watts link finally installed and the rear suspension wrapped up so that we can mount the bed and start moving on to everything that's left. So all the electrical, interior, motor stuff, it's gonna be a really good day. Last night we left off with this bracket being cut out. I also went ahead and I made the way that it mounts to the axle so that we can still unbolt this bracket so that we could get the diff cover off. Let's get the cross member completely welded up and the rotating pins and everything kind of mocked up. So we got the whole bracket kind of tacked on, and it definitely sticks out further than I would have liked. That's all right. It's gonna work. The other thing, I have these, which will be the brackets that it pivots off of. So that goes right there, gets welded on, and looking good. So we got two of them there. One goes on the top, one goes on the bottom. Yeah. I'll get them tacked on so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's the piece. Kind of goofy looking, I'm gonna admit. That's exactly what we need it to do. Here's the scoop. With this center pivot arm in, I pulled a strap to center the frame over the axle so that this is dead center. And then I also added the lower mount that goes to the lower arm and the upper mount that goes to the upper arm. So let's connect the two now. Here's what we'll be using. These are exactly the same length right now. That's one. Perfect. Let's watch it work. It works! And it looks pretty cool. I might do a little bit more tweaking here and there on it, but I mean, it works. Let's watch it go up again. As soon soon as we tighten the bolts down, it's not gonna have that loose bolt slop in it anymore. Now I do need to explain something. You can go too far with the Watts link. If you keep going up, eventually this arm will try to flip and rotate. The whole frame will actually start moving really fast. Instead of just moving straight up and down, it'll just send the frame sideways and then start coming back down. So it's kind of like a half figure eight pattern, but you got to imagine the figure eight tilted to the side, and the plane we're working with is the straight up and down plane. If this were to rotate all the way around and flip, then we'd be dealing with the drastic curves. But as of now, I think we can start finalizing some of these welds. Whew, that's a lot of work, but man, it's fulfilling. We have the rear suspension under Colin's truck now, and I can't wait for him to see it because I think it looks pretty cool. It just, I don't know, a lot of different things going on. I guess the only thing left to do is just to sit and look at it. Enjoy this montage. And as always, thanks for watching.